بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Types of ma. Ma al-ismiyah wa ma al-harfiyah. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we begin a new lesson on one of the most flexible and wide-ranging words in Arabic grammar, and that is the word ma. This small word may look simple, but in reality it carries many different meanings and grammatical functions. That is why the title of the lesson is Types of Ma. If students understand the different uses of ma, many Quranic structures become much easier to recognize and explain. The slide begins by saying that the Arabic word ma is used to express a variety of grammatical roles. Its functions range from negation to relative pronouns, and understanding its correct usage is crucial for mastering Arabic syntax and semantics. This is a very important opening statement, because it reminds us that ma is not one single fixed word with one single meaning. We must always ask, what kind of ma is this? Then the chart gives 10 types of ma. These are ma, mausula, ma ta'ajjubiyya, ma ibhamiyya, ma shartiyya, ma istifhamiyya, ma kafa, ma nafiyya, ma masdariyya, ma dama, ma za'ida. So the purpose of the chart is to give the student a full map from the beginning, even before each type is explained in detail. Now the slide begins with the first type, ma mausula. This is relative ma, the kind that can mean what, that which, or whatever, depending on context. The slide says that ismul mausula, the relative pronoun, has two types. The first is called am, or mushtarak, meaning a general shared form, and the examples given are man and ma. They are not restricted by gender or number. In other words, they are broad relative pronouns. The second type is called khas, the specific relative pronouns, such as alladi, allati, alladani, alladina, and so on. These are called ismul mausula al-khasa because they are specific in gender and number. So right here, the slide is making a very useful distinction. Some relative pronouns are general, like ma, and some are specific, like alladi and its family. Then the slide gives an important list of grammatical roles in which ma mausula may appear. It may occur as fa'il, maf'ul, mubtada, khabar, mudaf ilayh, and so on. This is a very useful point. It teaches students that the relative pronoun structure is not fixed to one role only. It can move through many positions in the sentence. Now the slide gives examples of that. The first role shown is maf'ul bihi. The verse is وَلَا تَنْكِهُ مَا نَكَاهَ أَبَعُكُمْ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. Do not marry those whom your fathers married before. Here, ma is functioning as relative ma, and the phrase after it explains the referent. The whole relative structure is in the role of maf'ul bihi. The second role shown is fa'il. The verse is Sabbaha lillahi ma fis samawati wal ard. Whatever is in the heavens and the earth glorifies Allah. Here ma means whatever, and it is functioning as the doer of the verb, the fa'il. The third role shown is mudaf ilayh. The verse is ذَلِكَ تَعْوِيلُ مَا لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ عَلَيْهِ صَبْرًا. This is the explanation of that which you were unable to bear patiently. Here ma is part of a relative construction functioning after ta'wilu, so it is being shown as mudaf ilayh in this usage. Then the slide gives one more useful heading, ma mausula used with prepositions, meaning when ma comes after a preposition such as bi or min. The examples are farihu bima indahum min al-ilm. They rejoiced in whatever they had of knowledge. Then comes وَأَنْفِقْ مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ, and spend from what we have provided you. These are excellent examples because they show that ma may also come in a prepositional context and still function as a relative pronoun, meaning what or whatever. So the lesson of this slide is very rich, even though it only begins with one type. The main idea is that ma has many kinds, but the first one, ma mausula, is the relative ma, meaning what, that which, or whatever. It may be general, unlike the specific alladhi family, and it may occur in many grammatical positions in the sentence. So the memory line for this slide is this. Ma is not one thing only. The first and most important type here is ma mausula, the relative what or whatever. And another helpful line is ma mausula may appear in many roles, such as fa'il, maf'ul, mubtada, khabar, and others. Now we come to the next slide of this lesson on the types of ma, ta'ajjubiyya, which the slide calls ma, of wonder. This is the kind of ma used in expressions of amazement or exclamation. The slide explains that it comes in the af'ala pattern, where the verb appears in the past tense form and the object is mansub. In other words, this is one of the standard Arabic patterns for expressing wonder. The first example is ma akthara nujuma. Wow, so many stars are. Here the speaker is not merely counting stars, rather he is expressing amazement at how many there are. The second example is Kutila linsanu ma akfara. Destroyed. Cursed is man. How disbelieving is he? This is a very powerful Quranic style, showing amazement mixed with blame. The third example is Fama asparahum alan nar. How astonishingly patient they are toward the fire. The slide also notes that this carries a critical tone. So, ma ta'ajjubiyya is not just about wonder in a neutral sense. It can also be used in blame, astonishment, or strong rhetorical force. Now we move to ma ibhamiyya. The slide calls it indefinite or non-specific. This type of ma is used to indicate an unspecified or indefinite thing. In simple words, it means something like something, anything, or some kind of thing, depending on the context. The first example is Atina kitaban ma. Give me any book. Here, ma is not asking a question and is not negating. It is making the noun indefinite and non-specific. The second example is from the Qur'an. Inna Allaha la yastahi ayyadriba mathalan ma. Allah does not shy away to give an example of anything. Here again, ma gives the sense of unspecified indefiniteness. It does not point to a particular example, but to any example. Then we come to ma shartiyya, that is, conditional ma. The slide says that it appears at the start of a conditional sentence, forming the shart and the jaza, and making the mudari mazum. This is a very important use of ma, because here it acts like a conditional word, meaning whatever or anything that in a conditional sense. The first example is وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ يَعْلَمْهُ اللَّهُ. Whatever good you do, Allah knows about it. Here the sentence begins with a conditional structure. Whatever good is done, Allah knows it. The second example is مَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ مِنْ خَيْرٍ تَجِدُهُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Whatever good you send ahead for yourselves, you will find it with Allah. This is an excellent example, because it clearly shows the two sides of the condition. Whatever you send ahead, you will find it with Allah. The third example is وَمَا تُنْفِقُوا مِنْ شَيْءٍ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يُوَفَّى إِلَيْكُمْ. Whatever you spend in the cause of Allah will be repaid to you in full. So the lesson here is that ma shartiya opens a conditional structure and carries the meaning of whatever in a condition. Next slide gives ma istifhamiyya, which is ma for interrogation. In other words, the ma used to ask questions. The first example is, Wa ma tilka biyaminika ya Musa? What is in your hand, O Musa? Here ma is the question word, what? The second example is, Wa ma adraka ma Laylatul Qadr? What will make you know what is Laylatul Qadr? Again, this is interrogative ma, used to ask a question. The third example is, Qala ya iblisu ma mana'aka an tasjuda? O Iblis, what stopped you from prostrating? Again, ma is asking for the reason or cause. The fourth example is, Ma lakum alla tunfiku fi sabilillah? What causes you not to spend in the cause of Allah? This is a very useful example because in English we might translate it as what is wrong with you or what causes you. But in Arabic, the key point is that ma is the interrogative tool introducing the question. The fifth example is, Ma lana lanara rijalan? What is the matter with us that we do not see any man? Here the phrase ma lana is a very common Quranic and Arabic style, meaning something like, what is the matter with us? So again, the student must recognize that this is interrogative ma, not relative ma and not negative ma. Next, we are going to see examples of ma istifhamiyya with prepositions. The slide says that when ma is used for interrogation and comes with a preposition, the alif is dropped. This is a very important spelling and reading rule. So instead of keeping the full form in the usual way, Arabic shortens it after certain prepositions. The forms shown on the slide are amma, lima, mimma, bima, fima. These are shortened forms that come from the combination of a preposition with interrogative ma. Then the slide gives examples. One famous Quranic example is, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu lima taquluna ma la taf'alun? O those who believed, why do you say what you do not do? Here lima means why, and it comes from the preposition li joined with interrogative ma. So students should recognize that this is still ma istifhamiyya, but now in a shortened form after a preposition. Then the slide gives, Amma yatasa'alun? What are they asking one another about? Here a ma comes from an plus ma, and again, the alif is dropped. So this is another very common Quranic form that students must learn to recognize. Then we have Bima Tubash Shirun. With what reason do you give me this good news? Here Bima comes from B plus ma, again with the interrogative meaning, and then Fima anta min dikraha. What concern is it of yours to mention it? Here Fima comes from F plus ma. So the lesson of this section is that when interrogative ma comes after a preposition, the written and spoken form often becomes shorter by dropping the alif. Now we move to the next slide, which is ma kafa. The slide calls it ma of prevention and explains that it is used for restriction or exclusivity, especially in the structure. Inna plus ma equals innama. This is a very important rule. The slide explains that inna normally comes before a noun and forms a nominal sentence, but when it is followed by ma kaffa, its normal grammatical effect is cancelled. That is why the word kaffa is used here, because it prevents or blocks the normal effect. So in ordinary grammar, inna would normally make its ism mansub, but when ma kaffa follows it, as in innama, that grammatical effect is cancelled, and the sentence after it may be nominal or verbal. The slide illustrates this with examples like innamal amalu bin niyat, actions are only by intentions, and innamal muslimuna ikhwatun, the believers are only brothers. These are very useful examples because they show the meaning of restriction. Only, nothing but, none but. Then, the slide gives a very important note. Since ma kaffa cancels the normal grammatical effect of inna, the sentence after innama may continue in different structures. That is why the examples below include both verbal and nominal patterns. The Quranic examples are very beautiful. Innama ya'murukum bis-su'i wal-fahsha'i. He only commands you to evil and immorality. Here, the meaning is one of restriction. He only commands. Then, innama harrama alaykumul maytata. He has only forbidden to you dead animals. Again, the meaning is exclusivity and restriction. Then, فَإِنَّمَا إِثْمُهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ يُبَدِّلُونَهُ. The sin is only upon those who have altered it. And finally, إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مِثْلُ الرِّبَا. Trade is only like interest. Now we come to the next slide of this lesson on the types of ma, and this slide introduces ma nafiya, that is, the ma of negation. This is a very important use of ma, because here the word is no longer acting as a relative pronoun, nor as a condition word, nor as a question word. Here, its job is very simple. It comes to negate. The slide begins by saying that ma nafiya appears at the beginning to negate either a verbal sentence or a nominal sentence. This is a very useful starting point, because it tells the student that the same ma of negation can work in more than one kind of sentence. Let us first look at the verbal sentence examples. The slide gives short examples such as ma labitha, he did not remain. Ma zalamuna, they did not wrong us. Ma mana'ana, he did not prevent us. These examples show a very simple pattern. Ma comes at the beginning and negates the verb directly. This is one of the common ways of negating past verbal meaning in Arabic. Then, the slide gives Quranic examples. One is, Ma asaba min musibatin illa bi'idhnillah. No calamity falls except by the permission of Allah. Another is, Wa ma yadurrunaka min shay. They cannot harm you at all. So in these kinds of examples, ma simply negates the verbal meaning. This is the first side of ma nafiya. Now the slide moves to an important second side, ma nafiya al-hijaziyya, in a nominal sentence. Here, the slide explains a very important rule. When ma nafiya al-hijaziyya enters a nominal sentence, the khabar is usually mansub. However, if ba enters for emphasis, the khabar may appear majroor in wording. This is a subtle but very important rule. The slide gives the famous Quranic example, Ma hadha basharan. This is nothing like a human. Then it contrasts it with the ordinary positive sentence, Hadha basharun. This is a human. So here, the student can clearly see the difference. In the ordinary nominal sentence, basharun is marfu, but when ma nafiya al-hijaziyya enters, the khabar becomes mansub, so we get basharan. Then the slide gives a non-Quranic example. Ma huwa shairan. He is not a poet. Again, the point is the same. The sentence is nominal, but ma enters and causes the khabar to become mansub. Now the slide adds another important subsection, negating a noun or predicate with ba for emphasis. This is very useful because students often see examples like these and wonder why the ending looks majrur. The examples are, Ma huwa bimayyitin. He is not dead at all. Ma sahibukum bimajnunin. Your companion is not mad at all. Wa mallahu bighafilin amma ta'malun. Allah is not unaware of what you do. Here the ba adds emphasis. almost giving the force of at all. Because of this extra ba, the khabar appears majroor in wording. But the student must remember the grammatical idea on the slide. Without that extra b, the original structure would still be one in which the khabar of ma is mansoob. That is why the slide says, without the extra b, it would be ma, huwa, mayitan. So this section is teaching both the normal rule and the emphatic variation. Then the slide gives another important expression under the heading only, with illa. The example is, ma min ilahin illallah. There is no God but Allah alone. This is a strong structure of negation and exclusivity. The meaning becomes no God except Allah. So the sentence combines negation with exclusion. Finally, at the bottom, the slide gives a useful table showing ma with min to mean no or none. The examples are ma lizzalimina min nasir. Wrongdoers have no helper. Ma'laka min Allahi min wali. You have no protector against Allah. Lahu ilmun normal sentence. Then ma appears and makes it ma. Lahu min ilmin. He has no knowledge whatsoever. The purpose of this section is to show how ma combines with min to strengthen the meaning of total negation. This pattern is common in Quranic Arabic and gives a force like no helper at all, no protector at all, no knowledge whatsoever. So the memory line for this slide is this. Ma nafiya simply negates, but its grammar changes depending on whether the sentence is verbal or nominal. And another helpful line is, with ma hijaziyah, the khabar is usually mansub. With extra ba, it may appear majroor in wording. Next comes ma masdariyah. The slide calls it interpreted masdar, meaning al-masdarul mu'awwal. The basic idea here is that ma combines with the clause after it, and together they give the meaning of a masdar, that is, a verbal noun or an abstract action. The first example is Iqra, kama yaqra'ul mudarris. Read as the teacher reads. Here ma is not asking a question and not referring to a noun. Rather, it gives the meaning of the way or the manner of reading. So the phrase after it is understood like a verbal noun in meaning. The second example is Fasbir kama sabara ulul azmi minar rusul. So be patient, as the steadfast messengers were patient. Here again, kama gives the meaning of like the patience of, or in the way, that. The clause after it is interpreted in a masdar-like sense. The third example is Alladhina ataynahumul kitaba ya'rifunahu kama ya'rifuna abna'akum. Those to whom we gave the scripture recognize him the way they recognize their own sons. Again, kama is carrying the meaning of just as or in the same way as, and the clause after it is functioning in an interpreted verbal noun sense. So the main lesson here is that ma masdariyah helps turn the clause after it into a meaning similar to a masdar, often translated as the way, as, or just as, depending on context. Now we move to madama. The slide gives the meaning very simply as long as. This is a very useful and frequent construction. The key idea is that when ma comes with dama, the meaning becomes one of duration or continued condition. The first example is fattakullaha ma istatatum. So fear Allah as much as you are able. Here, the construction gives the meaning of continuing or extending according to one's ability. The second example is wa kuntu alayhim shahidan ma dumtu fihim. And I was a witness over them as long as I remained among them. This is a very clear example. The phrase ma dumtu fihim means as long as I remained among them. So this construction expresses duration tied to a condition. So the lesson of this section is simple. Ma. Dhamma gives the meaning of as long as and expresses continuation over a period or condition. Now we come to the last section. Ma Zaida, the additional ma. The slide describes it very clearly as a particle used for emphasis only, without adding a new meaning. This is a very important point. Ma Zaida does not usually bring a fresh lexical meaning of its own. Rather, it is added for emphasis, style, force, or rhetorical strength. The table then gives examples of where this happens. The first example is Fabima rahmatin minallahi lintalahum. So it was by the mercy of Allah that you were gentle with them. The slide notes that here ma comes after be for emphasis. The second example is mimma khat'atihim ugrik. Because of their sins, they were drowned. Here again, ma is added after min for emphasis. The third example is Kalilan ma tuminun. Little do you believe. Here ma comes after an adverb-like expression, again for emphasis. The fourth example is Fa imma tarayina min al-bashari ahadan. If you see any human being. The slide notes that here ma is added after in. The fifth example is Iza ma atauka litahmilahum. When they came to you, for you to carry them. Here the slide says that ma comes after Iza, and this may be treated as Zaida depending on context. Ma Zaida usually strengthens style, while ma Masdariya strengthens meaning. Alhamdulillah, this brings us to the end of this lesson. If you found this video useful, we warmly encourage you to join our online complete self-study course at Al-Qur'an Institute, designed for you to learn at your own time and space, where you will receive unlimited access to our PDF materials, multiple choice questions with answers, exams, and a certificate of completion. You can enroll through our website www.alquraninstitute.net or contact support directly from the website. If you benefited from this video, please like and share, subscribe to our channel, and press the bell icon to receive all future lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make your Quranic Arabic journey easy, fill your heart with clarity and love for His words, and reward you abundantly in this world and the hereafter.